Before you watch this episode of our City Current radio show, I want to invite you to join City Current's e-learning and online personal development platform called Growth Current. I'm Jeremy Park, host of the City Current radio show and CEO of City Current. Growth Current is your exclusive ticket to attend virtual events with global thought leaders, national guest speakers, and experts who can help you grow personally and professionally. It gives you access to success secrets, lessons learned, learning modules, and so much more. Being online, you can join us from anywhere in the world. Subscriptions are only $8 a month, or you can do bulk subscriptions for your team. Check out growthcurrent.com to learn more and to join us in our efforts to power the good. And now, on to the show. Welcome back to our City Current radio show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our next guest, our good friend, Greg Diaz. He's the executive director of Las Americas, and we partner with him and his organization to do our Samaritan's Feet distributions. Absolutely amazing organization. Greg, how are you doing, buddy?
Man, I am doing so good. Good to see you, Jeremy, again. I tell you, every time I hear you talk on the radio, it gives me this type of energy that is hard to find in the Mid-South.
Well, hey, it's always one of those where I draw my energy from being around people like you, because when you talk about powering the good, you are powering the good and your organization. So let's start with a little context. Give listeners some background on Las Americas. Hey, there you go. Look at you, already rocking the Power of the Good hat. See? Yes.
Man, I'm telling you, I have it right here on my desk. Ever since you gave me that hat, it has become my favorite hat.
And it looks so good on you. I love it. So start with some context, dive in and give us a history lesson on Las Americas.
Las Americas, it's a youth development center that started about 14 years ago. And it truly started with my own personal story. When I came to America, I was 12 years old and I didn't have anyone that would help me with homework, tutoring, reading, especially because I did not speak the language. I promised God that if I ever was given an opportunity to do for other kids what it was not done for me, I would. Fast forward many years later, I became a pastor, and God reminded me of that promise. So I opened the doors of our church, invited the community to bring their children so we can help them with their homework. One kid showed up, and many years later, we have close to 1,000 in our roster, 9 different programs, two centers in the city of Memphis, recreational program, youth program, reading program, tutoring program, homework help program, and a few others. And it's been such a delight to see what God has done throughout the years.
And I love the fact that you have your own personal lens through this, because you know how difficult it can be to go into a classroom and not speak the language and really honestly be thrown into a culture that you yourself, no familiarity to it. And, going back to your personal story, really amazing what you went through as a family, but to be thrown in. So my point is, what it feels like for these students to be outsiders and yet needing to learn the language, to be immersed, to have a support network, to come together, and also to invite the community to come in so that you are creating a larger community fabric where everyone is working together. Talk about it from that lens of just the ripple effect you're creating, because even when it comes to volunteerism, you say, hey, we don't need you to speak Spanish. We want you to speak English because we're trying to come together as a community.
Yes. Well, I think it really helped the fact that I went through all of that so I could talk into some of the misperceptions that people may have. And some of them are that, well, I don't speak Spanish, I cannot help those kids. Well, most of the Latino kids, because that's the demographic that we serve mainly, they speak English better than they do Spanish. And we rather you speak English to them because the homework is done in English, school is done in English, how they're going to report to the teacher is done in English. So we need to help them in the language. And also it helps with the assimilation part. We teach them how to pronunciate, how to talk, how to use proper words and sentences. So it is very important that people know that if you speak English, you are welcome here. In fact, we really need you right now.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the volunteer need in a little bit. Talk about the centers, because absolutely amazing. And even the storyline on that of just what you and your team were able to do. You reached out with volunteers and all the families you serve, and you literally kind of built these centers, which are beautiful centers. but they are a place where, to your point, like everyone comes together, and now you're doing virtual homework and all sorts of stuff throughout the day. But talk about the two centers.
Well, we are blessed to have two sites in the city of Memphis. One is very close to Perkins and 240, and the other one is on Summer, close to Mendenhall. The centers itself, it's a safe haven for our community. I often tell people that for most of the American people, their pastor, that's just their preacher on Sunday. For the Latino community, their pastor is their attorney, their doctor, their counselor, and everything else in between that they need. That's where they go to. And Las Americas has truly turned into the place that is constantly standing in the gap. Perhaps when this pandemic started, we were able through the food bank partner up with them and serve over 10,000 people just in 4 weeks alone. And so we're constantly trying to find what the needs are and stay in the gap with the mass numbers of Latino families are in the Mid-South and serve them. So the center in itself, we have 9 different programs. Some of the main programs are homework help. So when the kids get picked up from school, they're brought over here and we will help them with the homework because mom and dad typically could not help them because of language barrier. And not only language barrier, Jeremy, but also the academic barriers that will present itself. But since parents don't pick them up from school, now it's virtual. So we came back and said, what can we do to help and stand in the gap? And if you go to the Facebook of Las Americas, you will see some stories there. There were kids that came recently that had not been connected that one day and had up to 240 assignments that were not done. So in the period of 5-6 days, we've been able to catch them up to speed in schools. We are connected with every school represented. We call them, we have Zoom meetings, we have phone conversations to make sure that we understand where those kids are and then they can excel in life. So we help them with homework help, tutoring. We have a reading program. You and I have heard that if a kid is not reading by grade level, by the time he's in 3rd grade, most likely will not graduate, and many other complications. So Las Americas truly provides answers for all those needs. And of course, being who we are, we do have a recreational program with a large soccer league and many other things like that.
Talk about now the virtual learning lab basically that you're doing. So talk about kind of when you open and now what the day looks like, because it is different. Before you mentioned it was more after school, but now you're all throughout the day, which opens the door for needing volunteers, the virtual learning, technology, Wi-Fi access. So talk about what a day looks like now at Las Americas.
Well, it used to be that our staff went to different schools during the day to come alongside the teachers and help them and whatnot. Well, these now it has changed because our staff comes directly to Las Americas and the kids show up here at 7:30 in the morning. And we bus kids from the other side of the city to this virtual hub. And we are here every single day from 7:30 in the morning till 4:30 p.m. And they eat lunch here. They're sitting on the tables outside, and we have staff talking to the teachers to make sure that they're connecting in the right classes. If one of them gets kicked out of the system, we help them get back in there. We had to redo all of our network and hire a company to come and do this. So we truly operating like a school that hubs 62 different schools in one displace to be able to accommodate the needs that these children have right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're painting that picture because it just shows what the students are up against in terms of what they need to succeed, but also too, the pivots that you're having to take as an organization to make sure that you can still help the individuals, help the families, help the students, and be able to help our community at large. And so when you talk about all these pivots and the adjustments and being able to do it really quickly, in the end, to be able to help, this is what you're dealing with. Share a little bit about the funding, because you and I were talking off the camera, off the mic, about just how you're obviously doing more than ever, but at the same time, obviously, just like every nonprofit with COVID-19 and the pandemic, funding is down. So talk about funding and, the need to be able to support your efforts.
Funding is down 38%. That's a significant amount. And yet we're doing double the hours. So it has been very challenging, but I do believe that God still touches the lives of many, and some donations have been trickling in and helping us through this. But there's not much to say about funding. Funding is down, and I sense necessarily because money is not going around. People are just more careful right now because they don't know what they're up against in the near future. But we just believe in God, that God will continue to touch folks. And last time I was at your radio show, a couple of folks went to our website and made donations, and we appreciate that. We tell the story, let the people know what we against, and I'll let God do the rest.
Yeah, and that's my hope and prayer too, is that more people hear this and see this and want to get involved, because what you're doing is absolutely amazing work. And so, one of the things that I give you a lot of credit for being innovative and always trying to find ways to still, do the mission and deliver on the mission, but you've got food trucks now. And so talk about the food trucks and what that's meant to being able to, further the mission and the cause of Las Americas.
We've been incredibly blessed to have some food trucks in the city. We got 4 of them now. We do catering. We got one in Summer across the street from Kroger. We have one. Actually, you'd be one of the first ones to know that we sign in the contract here very soon. We'll be in the Malco Theater parking lot in Cordova. Okay. And we've been able to hire many college students, and we've been able to fund their tuition for them to be able to attend school. So that has opened another opportunity to provide a way of education for those that really wouldn't have a place to go.
What's something that you want everyone to know about Las Americas that they might not know?
That it's a place that is 100% welcoming and open for everybody to come and experience these wonderful students. Many of your misperceptions will go away, if you have any, just by having a conversation with them and hear their stories about home and school and what they do. I think God will teach you a lot through them, and it's a very much needed place. Also, another thing that they need to know about Las Americas is that when we tell a kid no, it means no. It doesn't mean go down the street, that ministry can help you, because we are so crafted to the needs of this community that, unless I'm wrong, no one else in the city of Memphis is doing it. What we're doing right now. So it's a very much needed place. I hate to say it because I lead it, so I could be biased. I get that, but it's a place, and I always remind my staff, if we tell these kids no, they're gonna go home and stay home and try to figure it out then.
Well, it goes back to what you mentioned before of the pastor being the lawyer, the doctor. And I think when you look at culturally, what you have is trust. You have trust. And I think trust is a very important part of the success for Las Americas, but it also too, when you talk about culture and being able to genuinely help, they have to trust you. And I think to your point, when you talk about coming in and building relationships and getting to know the youth, you can't sit there and do that unless you build trust and build a relationship. And I think that's the core of what you're talking about is we need to build relationships and build trust so that ultimately good things can happen. And I feel like that's where what you're doing is building trust. At the same time, what we need to do is come alongside to help build the relationship and the trust so that our community can take the next step. So what would your vantage point on just the power of relationships and trust, carry that forward from your vantage point?
You can always put it together in such a beautiful words. It's incredible. Um, Trust, it's everything across the board in every culture. And I give you a prime example. I had a partner organization in the city that called me one day and told me, Pastor Diaz, I've got a bunch of Christmas trees that we got left over from an event. Do you think you can use them? So they sent a big truck with, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 Christmas trees. And he called me a few hours later and he said, what do you think? I said, yeah, they're gone. And he was like, what do you mean they're gone? I said, well, I did a Facebook Live video. I told folks I got Christmas trees and ornaments, and I had, dozens and dozens of cars pull up within an hour. And same thing happened with some backpacks, and it's all about trust. The community knows that when we go live, that when we put the word out, something good is going to happen, just like what cityCURRENT did through the Samaritan Feet. We've given hundreds and hundreds of pairs of tennis shoes. And Jeremy, you might have remembered those hundreds of kids that will come. And it's all about trust because parents know that we're going to protect their identity. We're not going to be asking questions that we shouldn't be asking. We're not going to get into areas that we should not get into. We will do what Manny has set out to do through Samaritan Feet, which is share the gospel, love those children, and put a brand new pair of tennis shoes and have smiles on them as they walk out.
And to your point, the youth, the families, your team, every single person you meet through Las Americas is such a blessing and just amazing people. And I couldn't agree more 100% in terms of just your ability to reach others, to build trust at the same time, though, to allow all of us to be a part of that joy. So wrap up and talk about website, social media. Where do we go to connect in with Las Americas?
If you go to lamemphis.org, just lamemphis.org, you will see our website, and you can shoot me an email or shoot Daisy an email. Also, if you go to Facebook page, Las Americas, we're always uploading pictures and activities there. And you can send an inbox, you can send an email. But I truly invite folks to, one, continue to pray for Las Americas and every organization that's truly trying to serve the community through this time. Two, come, volunteer, at least see what we're doing. And three, if the Lord leads you, you can also make a donation online. And I would love to see that happen as well.
Well, Greg, thank you for all you and your team do. Absolutely amazing. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.